Hi, gang, sexy. Kill the lights. No, wrong light. Welcome in. Little band of brothers, some screaming eagles here going on. So, there, that must be much better there. All right, so we have played through the training scenario and the first three scenarios, and the Allied paratroopers have won all of those. And they were on the attack in all of those. This one's a little different here. So, this is the situation where Easy Company was departing Carentan, ready to conduct offensive operations, and right as they decided to start moving out, the Germans counterattacked. I guess with some Panzer Grenadier stuff. All right. And this is my first scenario with vehicles. There's some Stugs in here, and there's some Shermans that'll come on later to hopefully bail them out. This is the scene, I think, in the movie where Blythe is in the foxhole and he's freaking out, and Winters comes up there beside him and gets him to finally shoot. I believe that's the scene we're talking about right there. Could be wrong, but I think that's it. So, okay, Germans on the attack. That's a first. Now, the Germans had 13 foxholes, and they deploy in hex row I on maps 8 and 10, which are up there. Well, that means on the edge of the map. So all I could do was put foxholes down the edge of the map, and that's what I did. So unless I got that wrong, somebody straightened me out on that one. And then the Americans, they had 8 foxholes that I spread out, put them in the gaps here where these roads come in, down here in between the trees and over here in these 2 gaps. And initially had forces in them or had concealed markers in them, and then I did my random draw because the Americans start with 4 decoy units. So this opened up as the Germans started to move. It's kind of a slaughterhouse now. So in this game, I have artillery, I have mortar teams, and I have armor. Haven't got to the armor yet. I haven't even bothered to read the rules yet. When I get to turn 3, which is right now, and the German Stugs come on, I'll read the armor rules before I start turn 3. So spreading the Germans out along the line, and trying to piece teams together or squads together so that they, I don't know, spread the second line squads out with the first line squads, and get those machine gun teams with them, and have that mortar team sitting back here ready to shoot. Now, I think I have the rules down for the mortar teams. Brendan, if you see this, or John, they have a line of sight from the target to an adjacent hex of their position. They can fire direct fire. And then you use their regular fire strengths just like you would any other unit. Only you use the mortar firepower chart on the terrain modifiers, like the -2 for foxholes or whatever this stuff is. My question is the American ones, they have a range that has to be greater than 1 hex. What happens to that unit? Can they do anything if an enemy unit closes to an adjacent hex? Because it doesn't sound to me like they can return fire, unless they can use their personal weapons, which I don't see an explanation. So I'm a little confused on them more. I think I'm good at them shooting at distance, but if somebody closes on them, I'm not sure how to handle them. Anyhow, the American positions were really strong up here along this hedge. Now, deployment-wise, there were 2 here. This guy. There was one over here, but he ended up being a decoy. And then there were 2 over here, 3 over here. One of those ended up being a decoy, and the other 2 decoys were back here in this line. But since then, I've moved 3 units up because being behind those hedgerows, and then shooting as the Germans close on them, they get really good bonuses, especially when you get a weapons team up in there. They can really get some seriously good bonuses. So the objective is for the Germans to drive down here into you see the top of the town down here, and they have to have 5 squads occupying buildings on this map. And right now, they're making a surge over here to the right, where they haven't gotten torn up. But I'm going to tell you the casualties, the Germans have already lost 1 first-line squad and 4 second-line squads. I hate to say it, but the second-line squads get kind of used. They're used out there for fodder for the most part. Get them in there to draw that initial fire and then see if you can't maneuver with the other squads around them. Because once a unit op fires, he can only do another op fire if if an enemy unit closes adjacent to him. Or you spend a command point, which the Americans have 3, and then you can shoot at distance for a final op fire. Left side, over there. Got an infantry paratroop squad up in there. Got a machine guns team in here, a weapons team, another parachute squad in here, and they knocked out a couple second line units. These guys over here knocked out a couple second line units. Now the Americans did lose a weapons team right here by just complete luck in a melee. All right, where they just could not chase those Germans away, and they were able to close and get in that hex with them. And I tell you got to get these paratroops and these weapons teams for the Americans. You got to get them suppressed so that they have to roll to fire, other than assault fire. They have to roll for proficiency before they can shoot again. So you got to get them suppressed. And it's hard when they're in foxholes, because against artillery, you got a -4, and small arms is going to be a -2. And behind the hedgerows is a -2. Then you stick somebody in a foxhole and behind the hedgerow, okay? So, but the Germans have broken through over here on the right. Possibly might break through on the left. The Germans lost, like I said, a second line infantry unit over there. Or, no, was it a first line? No, second line. And these weapons teams here are probably going to be moving forward here shortly. So, since the Germans have gotten here, we need to get an infantry squad in here to deal with these guys here. So, all right, so this is Band of Brothers. Scenario 4, like I said, I need some tidbits on. What I need is an example of firing, and I need to know what a weapons team mortars can do if an enemy unit closes adjacent to them, and their minimum range has got to be more than 1 hex. All right. Anyhow, Band of Brothers, Worthington Publishing, Screaming Eagles. This is the 5th scenario total that we're playing, and still having a blast with it. Talk to y'all soon.